Good day, viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul is on his way to the UK and then on his way to Paris, where he'll be watching the Springboks hopefully beat the Irish. So joining us, as always, from his Fulham studio will be our regular UK correspondent, Stevie Braham. But in studio with me is our regular super sub and Manning Rangers League winner, Gavin Radford. Gav?
Morning, Budge. Good to be here again. Lucky left's on his way.
Yeah.
I think we would all like to join him in France.
Yep, no doubt.
Big game for the weekend. And saying that, big game with the Champions League as well.
Yeah, less said about Man United, the better. But we kick off, as always, with our last one standing competition. And heading into round 6, we had 350 entries. 331 were successful, and sadly only 19 went out. The 331 successful were 182 who I still can't believe survived on Tottenham, 80 on Fulham, 19 on Newcastle, 16 on Arsenal and Liverpool, 13 on Aston Villa, and 5 on Man City. The unfortunate guys were 11 on Notts Forest, 5 on Chelsea, 2 on Man United and 1 on Everton. To the UK guys and to our ladies, my apologies, you won't get a mention this weekend, but definitely next week. So the guys that deserve a mention are Bruce Armstrong, Alan Duplessis, Craig Booth, Michael Alexander, Charles Ashby, Elvis Dixon, Brandon Donation, Adam Murta, Nick Trustman, Robbie Talon, Lionel Isaacs, Keith Gillespie, Rodney van Rensburg, Clint Heap, Gavin Null, Ben and Brett McElligott, Graham Roberts, Gary Citron without the E, Grant Knowles, Francois Dumy, Hassan Maul, Franz Geet, Robert Geet, Devon O'Connor, Sheldon McCabe, David Thompson, Butch Fitzgerald, Phil Giorgio, Rodney Boyson, Travis Dorigo, Alfie Dorigo, David Wheeler, Richard Knight, Sean Singleton, Paulo DeCamo, Dave Cohen, Mark Curry, Mark Fulyun, Mark Marinkovitz, Ernie Skip Wallace, Jeremy Fleming, Willie Miller, Sandile Mkize, Keegan Hain, Craig Foree, Sean Matthew, Steve Griffiths and Graham Hawkins, while our toad favourite Enzo Capolo sailed through. Now guys, next week I'm taking one of our winners to the Tottenham-Liverpool game. So for 2 weekends in a row, I will be in the UK. Now, while it is all taken care of, I need your picks by 12 o'clock on Saturday. There's several of you that I know work or golf and do other activities. But if you don't get your picks to me, especially when I'm overseas, the rule is you will get the highest team in the league that you haven't used. I hope it doesn't come to that, guys, but please, I need your help. 2 guys that are still in, and I can't believe it. Gavin, what do you think?
Summer got through with Spurs last week, but I was dreading the results, and then Spurs 2 goals in extra time. I couldn't believe it.
And Steve, you as well. Steve, round 6. I can't remember, but it's got to be one of the first couple of times you've got through.
I think it was, and like Ava, when I realised, I thought Tottenham had lost.
Yeah.
As I was leaving the ground at Fulham last week, and on the big screen they had the results on the BBC, and it had Tottenham 0, Sheffield United 1. They hadn't updated it.
Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised.
You'll have to fight another round. Anyway, on to the Champions League midweek. Steve, I watched AC Milan Newcastle. A good result for Newcastle, but disappointing match.
Yeah, I mean, Milan had the chances to win it. I was a little bit sort of disappointed, as you say, a little bit disappointed with Newcastle, but they'll take that draw and puts them in a decent position after game 1.
Yeah, Gav, you see.
I thought AC Milan, after they lost 5-0 the week before, I thought they would bounce back and take advantage of Newcastle coming across. But yeah, disappointing AC Milan. They just seem to run out of legs. They were playing in patches. There was no fluidity to the game. Very disappointing AC Milan at home.
Yeah, I think the game changed. Rafael Leao beat about 3 players, and then he tried a back heel. Don't ask me why, instead of just thumping it. And The longer it went on, you could see it was a stalemate, but good result for Newcastle. I know Glasgow Celtic lost 2-0 at Feyenoord. They had 2 red cards, so they were well beat. Steve, I didn't watch it. Man City 3, Red Star Belgrade 1, Crvena Zvezda's their new name. 1-0 down at half-time, but something obviously got said at half-time.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, in the first half, City had so many chances. The goalkeeper, was superb, and it was just a shock that they went 1 down. But the second half, it was business as usual. Once they equalised, and there was only going to be one winner, and ultimately, 3-1 sounds close, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, that result could have been 7 or 8. The chances that City missed in the first half are really uncanny of them. But the goalkeeper, he ended up coming for one to punch, and he missed it. He punched into his own net, and that just set the tone for City then to just play their normal game. And it was just cruise mode after that. Yeah,
I think the only pressure will come on them is in the knockout stage at the moment, sailing away. Arsenal 4, PSV 0, Steve. Did you see it?
Yeah, very impressive. But the game was over at half time, and they pressed forward. PSV had 1 or 2 chances, but they were by far the stronger team, and again, I think that sets the tone for them in that group.
Gav, you see it?
Yeah, I watched a bit of the game. Arsenal very good, very slick, good passing on the ball. Movement was good. Really relentless last night. Arsenal, they were really good last night.
Yeah, when both teams to score for an interest, praying they would score, but unfortunately not. And big game last night, Steve. Bayern 4, Man United 3. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I watched quite a bit of that as well, and United should have been ahead early on, missed a couple of good chances, but for a shocking goalkeeper error by Nana and a very soft handball given against them, United probably ran Bayern sort of Munich closer than a lot of people thought. So, I mean, they'll be disappointed to lose, but I think when you look at that group, I think United definitely should be favourites for second place.
Gav?
Yeah, I think I thought United should have had a penalty in that first minute of the game. It was a clear chance to score, and the defender took the player from behind, and it's a bit of a scuffle on the floor, but you can see the player that got up off the floor. He was nervous looking at the referee the whole time because he knew he had fouled him. But the chance gone, and we started the game well, and then we gave away two silly goals. United always on the back foot, got ourselves back into the game, and then from there, Bayern started to dominate again, and then later in the game we went 3-1 down, then 3-2, 4-2, they stepped it up again, but Bayern always in control of the game. Yeah.
Division above United, and I just hope Ten Hag starts changing the system, play 3 centre halves. I don't know what we've got to play. I said to Steve earlier, only 1 Englishman that came on. That's worrying for me. I know there are a lot of injuries, but it's time that the guy shut up and just rolled the sleeves up and started fighting. I just don't like what I see, and if can't beat Burnley on Saturday, I think the fans will start rioting. Anyway, on to tonight, Steve. There are 3 English teams in the Europa League. I know Klopp will mix and match his team, but surely they've got to beat Lars Glintz.
Yes, they should do. I think they should be too strong for them. I think they should. I think they should win that by a couple.
Gav, Brighton AEK, first time for Brighton in Europe.
Yeah, I think they're a nice ball-playing team, Brighton. They gave United a bit of a run-around second half last week. So if they can take that form and continue into it, I think AK will come there trying looking for a draw to start the season for them. But I think Brighton should probably wear them down. I'm just worried for Brighton going into the weekend thereafter.
Yeah, as you say, it'll be a great atmosphere at the Amex, so good luck to them. And West Ham, Steve, surely got to be too good for TSC of Azerbaijan at home?
Yes, you would think so. I think that he'll rest 1 or 2 David Moyes. I think they'll be too strong for them. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that hopefully this game is on. Legia Warsaw against Aston Villa in Poland. What do you think, Gav?
Aston Villa for me, Budge. I think they've stepped up their game. The coach has got them playing well. They've got some nice pace up front, creating a lot of chances, Villa. I can't see them get beat here.
Now, they are 4-1 to win the competition. Steve, worth a bet, Aston Villa?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, it's not an easy competition to win. There's a lot of games to play. Obviously, we've got strong English teams in there, and you've got teams from sort of other countries. Plus, obviously, we're going to have teams that drop out of the Champions League. So it's a tough ask, but I think they'll certainly give it a go. And it's sort of, maybe memories of their sort of European exploits in years gone by.
Yeah, Tony Morley crossed to Peterworth. Preston boy. Peterworth played for Arcadia in South Africa. So good luck to Villa. It's a great stadium. And 4-1 to win the Europa Conference League, even though the final's in May, I think it's worth a couple of interests. Anyway, Steve, last but not least on the betting side, Man City 2-1 to win the Champions League. Will I have your money?
Yeah, they're the team to beat, aren't they? I mean, now that they've sort of broke their duck and won it last year, I think, they are the team to beat. But again, you never know on the day. I mean, they weren't troubled at all really last season. Yeah. Were too strong in every home game. But it really depends who else comes through. Yeah. It's too early in a way to start thinking what could happen because injuries or anything could happen in the intervening months. But they are certainly the team to beat. There's no question.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Anyway, on to the Premiership for the weekend. And we kick off with your team, Steve, at Crystal Palace. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a close game. We won there comfortably last year. Palace had 2 players sent off in the game. Yeah. But I think this year, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we cancel each other out. Palace certainly will start as favourites. But I think that we showed enough last week to get a point. I think so. I think I'd be happy with the point. It's not an easy place to go for us, and I think it will be a close game.
Gav,
Roy Hudson's got this team playing, but hard to beat. Palace at the moment 9-10 for the weekend. I would lean towards them, maybe a 1-0, 2-1. Yeah. Good side, hard to beat.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a good game, Steve. I think there's going to be goals in this game. My suggestion was over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes at 14-10. I don't see you winning, Steve. I just think this Palace team, but I agree with what you're saying. You could cancel each other out, but, both teams to score 8.5-10. I think there'll be goals. I just don't see, both teams keeping a clean sheet. But of the two sides, I fancy Palace, but I've been impressed with your team. Now, Luton, is this the chance, Steve, to get a point or two at home against Wolves?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Luton obviously close up last week, and I think defensively, I think they're going to struggle this season. I think Wolves could look at this and think that this is an opportunity for them. You're troubled with Wolves, you're not quite sure what you're going to get. Yeah. I thought they were superb in the first half against Liverpool, and then obviously, class sort of won over in the end. But I think I can see Wolves getting something there.
Gav?
Yeah, I worry for the teams that are in the bottom of the log, especially the guys that have got promoted. And Luton's one of those teams that got promoted. Leaking goals at the back, it's never a good sign for a team like that. It always gives the opposition a chance to score. I like Neto for Wolves. I think he's a nice player on the left. I think he's a really good player. I thought maybe United at one stage would come for him. But I'm leaning towards Wolves to win this. Just a little bit of magic from Neto and the leaky defence from Luton. But a tough game. Wouldn't be surprised if this ends in a draw.
Yeah, another game for me where there's goals. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes was 14-10. That's my play. I think of the two teams I fancy Wolves, but you never know. Away from home on that tight pitch, Luton will cause them the problem, especially from set pieces. Another game, of the two I like Wolves, but a draw wouldn't surprise me. Man City, Steve, surely they're going to be too good for Notts Forest?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see anything other than a home win. I mean, very comfortable beating them at home last year. I know they played during the week, City, but I think whatever team they put out, I think Forest will have a bit of a go, but I think City by sort of 2 or 3 wouldn't surprise me.
Gav, can Forest score?
I think they can score, Butch. I think they can score. We saw the game during the week in the Champions League. They dominate possession so much that they do leave themselves vulnerable at the back for a quick counter. And Forest is one of those teams. They've got a bit of pace up front. They compete the whole game, Forest. Yeah. They should be getting to about the 50, 60th minute and the floodgates should be open. City, we were looking them to dominate and to win the game. But yeah, it'll be tighter than we think. I think Forest are one of those teams that they will rattle a few feathers in the cage. Yeah,
I've got to be Man City. I'm all over Man City to score over 3.5 goals at 16-10. To score over 2.5 goals, they're 7-10, which I think is a gift. But knowing them, they'll take their foot off the pedal in the last 20 minutes. But Man City all day. Steve, the next game, Brentford-Everton. This is going to be a dogfight. I've got an 8 to 10 shot, 8.5 to 10. Good thing for you there. What do you think is going to happen in that game?
Yeah, I think Everton, are just really struggling. They had a bit of a go last week, but ultimately I think Brentford at home should be too strong. But, Everton are going to start picking up some points. Otherwise, Sean Dyche is going to be under a lot of pressure again. I think Brentford, they've only won that one game at Fulham. They've drawn a few.
Yeah.
But I fancy Brentford to edge that. I don't think it'll be by many. Probably the odd goal in 3.
Gav?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Brentford as well. I think that they're hard to beat at home. Everton struggling, conceding goals. Daesh has just got them playing with passion at the moment. And you can see they're all trying, but nothing's quite working out for them. But they're all running and chasing, and he's encouraging them from the sideline, but they just don't have the X factor to score goals. Brentford at home, tough place to go. I think all the top teams found that out last year. So I'm leaning towards Brentford to win this one.
Yeah, you'd fancy. I just got a funny feeling with Everton. They throw this upset like they did at Brighton last year. One thing about them, set pieces, they are well organised, and that's one of Brentford's strengths. So I think Everton will score from a set piece. I'm looking to try and find who will be playing. Tarkowski, one of the big boys, but over 4.5 bookings at 8.5 to 10. If there aren't 5 or more bookings in this game, well, I've done my money for the weekend. But rather than take 8 to 10 a Brentford win, I'm all over the bookings at 8.5, 10. Now, Steve, if Man United can't win at Burnley Saturday night, the vultures will be swirling at Old Trafford.
Well, look, I think they're obviously going to start as favourites. Only because sort of Burnley have struggled. They've lost all 3 at home. Had a bit of a fighting draw on Monday night at Forest. Look, Burnley will have a go. They'll obviously feel that, with all the sort of pressure on United at the moment, they could maybe upset them. But I just think if United just show that, they just show a little bit of class and don't give away silly goals at the back, they should win that. But I think it's going to be pretty close. And if they do, it will just be by the 1 goal.
Gav?
Yeah, I think this is the best bet of the weekend, United. But saying that, the form and coming into this game is not the greatest. But for me, United all the way. I can't see Burnley competing. I really can't see them competing. I watched them the last couple of games. Company's trying to get them playing. They've got a suspension up front to the goal scorer for them, Foster. But United will have too much class for them. Even with our injuries, I think we can't win this game then. There's problems in our camp.
Yeah, I totally agree. United should score a couple of goals. It's 7 to 10 to win. I'd rather back United to score over 1.5 goals. Can we keep a clean sheet? You never know. But with our South African guy who's suspended, surely if United can't win this, well then I don't know. On to Sunday, where the big game, Arsenal, Tottenham. Steve, can they get a result, Spurs?
Well, it's interesting. The betting is sort of looks like it's Arsenal all day long, but I think Tottenham are going to run them close. Arsenal's certainly going to start as favourites, but I think Tottenham's form in the league has been very good, and I think last week was a testament to the fact that they don't give up and deservedly got those sort of late goals. So I think this could be a close game. If Tottenham pitched the point, wouldn't surprise me, but I think Arsenal were definitely going to start as favourites.
Yeah, 7 to 10 Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal will be my second best bet of the weekend. I think they're a great side at home. Tottenham punching above their weight at the moment. A couple of weeks ago I said I didn't like them, I didn't play well.
Yeah.
But they proved me wrong. They're going out there and giving it a full go. But Arsenal at home, you just don't see them dropping points. I looked at the stats, it's about 92% of the time they win at home.
Yeah.
They've got to win games like this if they want to go close to winning the league. So for me, Arsenal all day.
Yeah, I agree. Arsenal win, both teams to score. I think it was like 19 to 10. That would be my play in that particular game. Now the trick team, Brighton, Steve, everyone's all over them. At home to Bournemouth. What do you think?
Obviously they play tonight and then again on at the weekend. Look, Brighton will start as favourites. I don't think it'll be quite as straightforward. Bournemouth have been tight in their games. They've obviously held Chelsea, held West Ham at the beginning of the season. I think Brighton will win it, but I think it'd be one of those sort of close games and by sort of 1-0 or something. But I still fancy Brighton to come through. They've looked very strong this year. Apart from that sort of little bit of an upset at home to West Ham, they've looked good. And their performance last weekend at Old Trafford, You know, I mean, everyone was going on about how poor United were, but Brighton were exceptional as a team. So I think they're just good enough. And however defensively that Bournemouth set themselves up, you know, but I think that's been their problem this year. They've been a little bit cavalier, Bournemouth, and have got caught out. Certainly when they played Tottenham. I fancy Brighton to edge it though.
Yeah, Brighton, you would think with McAllister gone and Conceição gone that they would be battling, taking out the heart of their midfield. It just seemed to improve them. Like the players that have come into the team want to play, following the system. Outplayed United last week, completely on their own patch. Brighton, for me, should be the bet of the weekend, but just something sitting in the back of my mind saying, watch out, this could be one of those little stepping stones for them which they can slip up on. I'm hoping not, but tough game. I think Brighton will shade it.
Yeah, it should be Brighton all day, but I just wonder, Thursday night, first time in Europe at home, be a big crowd. That's my only concern, Steve, is the big crowd, you know, and if they do get a great result, now you've got to play Bournemouth. Not Bournemouth. It was a big team, I'd say certainties, but that's my only problem. With the football they play, and they've done it a few times, where instead of winning 3-4-0, they just don't score. So if they don't win, I think this is 0-0, Steve, but you've got to think on current form. Brighton are good things. Now on current form, you cannot take 9-10 Chelsea at home against Aston Villa. Can Villa get a result here, Steve?
I think they can. Again, obviously they are playing tonight, but it's strange. They've been very strong at home, Villa. Won their home games, but poor away. But as you say, very difficult to see that Chelsea warrant being odds-on favourites to win this. They were poor at Bournemouth. They were poor against Forest. And Villa have got the players that could hurt them. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there could be a bit of an upset, although, you know, on form, you wouldn't say it's an upset. But I fancy Villa to go and get something.
Gav?
Yeah, 500, 600, 700 million rand team Chelsea battling to score, sitting 14th in the log. Yeah. You sit down and you wonder, I mean, how can this be? Players that are worth 70, 80 million can't find the back of the net on a weekly basis. It's mind-boggling. Chelsea need to do something and need to do something quickly. I'm leaning towards Villa in the draw. I think Chelsea, because they can't score and they have their problems, Pochettino can't find his right combination at the moment. I think he's got so many superstars that he thinks, I'll give them one more chance next week, and it's just not working for them. So I'm going to go Villa in the draw. Yeah,
Villa in the draw, 9-10. I'm going Villa to score over 1.5 goals at 16-10. I just think Chelsea, you know, where are they going to score? They're going to beat somebody 4 or 5, but the more you watch them, the more desperate they're becoming. And I don't know about some of these big money signings and the quality, but Aston Villa away from home have been woeful. But I've got a funny feeling this has got 2-2 written all over it. So 16-10 Aston Villa for me. Steve, Liverpool, West Ham.
Yeah, just before that, I've got an amazing stat that I only sort of found out from my son this week. Chelsea last season didn't beat a single team in the top half, home or away. The last time they beat a top team was in April 22. Jeez. So, you know, and that's just, you know, that's an incredible stat when you think of how strong they have been. Yeah. So it sort of shows that, you know, do they warrant being odds on against a team like Villa, who are sitting in the top half of the table? So we'll see. You know, as you say, it's. They beat Luton comfortably. They are going to give somebody a hiding when they get their players fit, because they've also got a lot of players out at the moment. But you know, they're just not. You know, I don't think he knows what his best 11 are, and that's part of their problem all the time.
Yeah. Now I can't have Chelsea. Not for me. Liverpool, West Ham, Steve. In my opinion, I said last week, Liverpool the only team that I think can trouble Man City. Got to get a result against David Moyes' West Ham, but I think they'll win easily. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll win. I mean, they came strong second half, and West Ham, obviously, at half-time, you know, I think a lot of people were shocked by that, but then City got back to business. I think West Ham will give them a bit of a game. I think they're capable of scoring, but I think Liverpool will certainly get the goals and win that. And as you say, they probably are, them and Arsenal, I think, the only two that could run City close at all this year.
Gav?
Yeah, Liverpool need to stay injury-free for a big part of the season, and they can get some results. Tough game, West Ham. West Ham have improved a hell of a lot. Yeah. David Moyes got them playing, big boy up front, quick, strong. Virgil's going to have to be on his toes here. But you would think Liverpool would be too strong at home. Maybe both teams to score for me.
Yeah, Liverpool to win and both teams to score, yes, at 15-10. My money's already down on that particular game. And last but not least, Steve, Sheffield United at home against Newcastle. How do you see it going?
Well, I think Sheffield will definitely have a full go because I think that's the way they play. But I would be surprised if Newcastle don't get a result there. I mean, they were a little bit sluggish, as you say, during the week, but I think they'll look at this and think this is an opportunity to get their winning ways on the road again. So I think it'll be close, but I fancy Newcastle to edge it.
Yeah.
How much did that defeat from Spurs take it out of Sheffield United last week? Going into like 112 minutes and losing 2-1, 2 goals in extra time. That must have hurt them. But you think Newcastle, with the team that they have and the squad they got and where they want to go with the team, would be too strong. They've got to start winning on the road. They are the better team, so you would go to Newcastle.
Yeah, I think Sheffield United will score. They scored against Man City, scored against Spurs. That would be my bet, 6-10. You've got to fancy Newcastle. But I don't know, I just don't like what I see from Newcastle. The last couple of games, I don't know, there's something amiss. I don't know if the Champions League has raised, they've got to outperform, but they should win. But I won't be taking 4-10 Newcastle. So if you do fancy Newcastle will win, both teams to score. I think it was 5-2, but I'm taking 6-10 Sheffield United to score. Steve, on to the championship. And Friday night kickoff, Birmingham City against QPR. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I fancy Birmingham to bounce back with a win on this one. I think at home, I think they'll be too strong for QPR. QPR scraped lucky with a sort of last-minute equaliser during the week, but I fancy Birmingham to be too strong. Yeah,
I know Birmingham lost 2-1 at. They lost to my Preston boys. But speaking to my mates that were at the game, they said Birmingham City were the better team. So anyway, QPR, Swansea had a player sent off when they were 1-0 up. So got to agree with you. Friday night, 9-10 Birmingham does look a bit of a good thing. Ipswich Town Blackburn, Steve, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think this will be a good game. I mean, Ipswich are really riding high. They've had a fantastic, apart from that home upset against Leeds, they've won every game. Blackburn were evidently played quite well last night, but in the end well beaten by Sunderland. I think Ipswich will be too strong and I think they'll win that.
Yeah, plenty of goals for me there. 7-10, both teams to score is my suggestion, but if you took 7-10 Ipswich Town to win, I wouldn't blame you. Steve, Leeds are in and out. We got money with them last week when they scored 2 late goals, but 0-0 away from home last night and against a Watford team that are well organised. I've got my doubts about there being goals in this game. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like Leeds were totally on top at Hull and then had a player sent off, Rodon, who came from Tottenham. And then in the end, they just obviously just held out for 0-0. I think they will be a little bit too strong at Ellen Road. So I think that they might just edge that Leeds. Yeah,
they've drawn all 3 games at home. That's my only concern. But of the 2, you've got to fancy Leeds United. Steve, Leicester City, I watched the game last night against Norwich because I had a bet on it. They're a class above in that league. They're going through the motions. It's like 5-a-side football for them. If they keep a squad, they'll win the league by a distance. Bristol City will give them a game, though. But Leicester, 6-10?
Yeah, I think that's good odds. I watched their game where they won at Southampton last weekend. I thought they played really well. Yeah, I think Bristol City are having a reasonable season. But I think that Leicester will be too strong, and I think there will be goals. I can see Bristol scoring, but I think Leicester will certainly win that.
Yeah, it's 5-2 Leicester to win, and both teams to score. So we backed that already. On to our second page, and we've got Middlesbrough, Southampton. 2 teams with high hopes, Steve, but 2 teams that are woeful at the moment. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean both teams. I mean Southampton. Very disappointing the last couple of performances. And Middlesbrough, well, they haven't picked up a win this year. I think Southampton will want to try and bounce back, but I just wonder whether or not Borough might just. I think for me it's either a draw or maybe Southampton might just edge it. But as you say, 2 teams just misfiring in the last few weeks. Yeah,
well, Middlesbrough drew at Sheffield Wednesday, who are woeful. And a good mate of our show, Gary Green, a staunch Southampton supporter, he was following the game, must have been streaming it, because I had Southampton to score to land a nice bet, and they never. He just said the manager who's come from Swansea has no idea. He said we've got players that can't play out from the back, and he's still trying to implement that style. He said they're in serious trouble, Southampton. And if they don't get a result this weekend, you never know what's going to happen with the manager, Steve. But the draw would be my suggestion in this particular game. Plymouth-Norwich. Should be goals in this, Steve, but which way do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, Norwich, as I say, obviously lost last night to a strong Leicester team. You know, they've had a decent season, I guess, up until last night. Plymouth at home are a hard team to beat. Southampton beat them down there. Yeah. But I think I think this will be a tough ask for Norwich to get a result. I fancy maybe Plymouth could hold them.
Yeah, just talking about Norwich, Steve, had a bet to come, another losing bet last night. Norwich had just needed to score. They hit the bar, they had a couple of good chances. They weren't really outplayed. Yeah, they aren't a bad team, Norwich, but, the lack of just that final third was my concern. And at 10:30 last night, I was cursing and swearing, but they couldn't score. So what do we do? But I think there'll be goals. Plymouth are a bit woeful at the back, but as you say, good home form gives them a chance. But if I'm looking over 2.5 goals, both teams to score, that's my suggestion. Now, Rotherham against top of the league, Preston. I can't believe I can say that, but I don't think we've got a good record there, Steve. This won't be easy.
Well, you say that, but I mean, obviously, 6 wins and a draw in their 7 games. I mean, it must be Preston's best start in memory. Whereas Rotherham, well beaten last night. I saw the highlights and read the report. It could have been 5 or 6 to Millwall. I think Preston should go there and get a result. I don't think they've got anything to be scared of. I think they keep it tight at the back, and I think Rotherham have conceded a lot of goals this year. So I fancy Preston to edge that.
I hope you're right. The only problem with our manager away from home, he doesn't go from the jump. He tries to slow play it and get into the game. But we're playing well. We've won all our games, 6 out of 7. The only draw was at Bristol City in our league opener. So let's hope my boys can continue the fine run. Swansea City, Sheffield Wednesday. Steve, I've got a strong fancy here. How do you go? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Swansea should be too strong. I mean, they're not having a good season. I mean, obviously, having lost, as we said last week, they've lost their top scorer, Joel Pirot, who's gone to Leeds. They should have won at QPR, but as you say, players sent off and conceded a last-minute goal. Wednesday drew with Borough, but really struggling this year, conceding goals. I think Swansea will win this. I don't think it will be straightforward, but I think they'll win it.
Yeah, I totally agree. They're my bet of the weekend, purely because Sheffield Wednesday are woeful. I watched them against Cardiff. By the cutting edge up front, it was fairly competitive, and they should have beat QPR. And I hummed and hawed which way to go, Steve, but I've got to take a chance on Swansea. They're a far better team than Sheffield Wednesday, so even money Swansea are in all my bets. West Brom, Millwall, Steve, 2 teams that should be in the playoff race. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I think you're right. Millwall have just come back with a couple of wins. Yeah. West Brom, flattered to deceive. You sort of think that they're going to go and have a bit of a run, and then they sort of drop points. I think at home they'll be favourites, but I think it's the sort of game where Millwall could get something. I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel each other out and we get a score draw there.
Yeah, 8 to 10, both teams to score. That's my suggestion there. Stoke City at home against Hull City. Steve, this should be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, Stoke at home are relatively strong, and Hull are having a reasonable season. Yeah. I think Stoke will start as favourites, but I think Hull have been sort of hard to beat this year. I think Stoke should win it, but I think it'll be close.
Yeah, no doubt. Tight game there. Sunderland, Cardiff City. If ever there's a game that there should be goals, it should be this one. Sunderland starting to look strong, Steve. Will they beat Cardiff?
I think they will. They've had a few good results, scoring goals. That was a good win last night at Blackburn, 3-1. Yeah. Jack Clark is on fire. I think that Cardiff had a good win in their South Wales derby last weekend. Yeah. But I think that Sunderland should be too strong. Yeah,
they score goals, Sunderland. The Sunderland win, both teams to score, yes, 27-10. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score, yes, 12-10. I think they're all gifts this weekend, guys. So my money's on already. Hopefully I can be at the payout queue on Monday. And talking of Monday, Steve, Coventry City at home against Huddersfield. How do you see it going?
Well, I don't know if you sort of knew that Neil Warnock left Huddersfield last night. So it's strange because he didn't resign, and they're saying he wasn't sacked. It was sort of Evidently, when the chairman was ready to replace him, when they obviously felt, he was going to leave in the summer because he was brought in just to keep them up.
Yeah.
I understand that Darren Moore, ex of Sheffield Wednesday, might be taking over this week. So, which was, I think, is good. It's good for him. I think he was harshly treated by Wednesday, and I think that he'll do well there. Yeah. Having said that, Coventry have been very disappointing.
Yeah.
They had that one really good win against Borough. I thought they played well in the opening game. Since then, really sort of, scoring goals, but they're just not winning the games. I think they really miss Gokares, who left and went to Sporting Lisbon. I think Coventry will start as favourites, but I think Huddersfield had some good results recently. So, for me, Coventry might just edge it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Huddersfield hold them.
Yeah, fancy Coventry, but 1 win in 7 league games isn't the greatest of form, so I'll have to wait till Monday, but they aren't in any of our bets. Talking of bets, Steve, pressure time again. I think I know which way you're going. I need your best bet and value bet, please.
I'm going to go for Birmingham as my best bet. I think that they'll be too strong at home against QPR. And my value bet, I was tempted with Villa because I think that it's good value, but I'm going to go for your boys, Preston. I think they should be odds on to win that. Yeah. Top of the table against a team that are leaking goals. I fancy, so I hope it's not the kiss of death, but I'm going to go for Preston.
So do I. Steve, Swansea my best. I'll get Gavin's a bit later. 15-10 Roma. I backed them the other day. Lukaku's coming to form. They'll be too good for Torino. And the other one I'm all over is in Spain. Osasuna to beat Seville. I fancied Seville last night. 1-1 home draw against a poor Lens team. So Osasuna 16-10. So those are my plays. But Steve, thank you very much. Don't forget your last one standing pick, and we'll speak over the weekend.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers. Bye, Gav.
Cheers, Steve.
All right, Gav. PSL, we had a few games. I'll go through them quickly. Cape Town Spurs, Sean Bartlett's team 1-0 up. Got beat 2-1. Arrows.
Yeah, shame that Bartlett's got no players. He's playing with the same squad he had last year.
Yeah.
They're trying everything they can, but just haven't got any quality.
Yeah,
they're going to get beat. They're going to continue to get beat.
Yeah, Richards Bay 1, Chipper 2. Chipper are hard to beat, yeah?
Hard to beat Chipper. They're not bad on the road as well. We backed them a couple of weeks ago against the Cape Town Spurs as well. Same thing. Hard to beat team, but they get the results.
Yeah, and Steve Barker, Stellenbosch, another home defeat, 2-0 to Swallows.
Yeah, Swallows just seem to be turning the corner. They seem to have improved a lot. Steve might be under a little bit of pressure, but that Stelly's team is hard to beat.
Yeah, Steve Compella doing a great job at Swallows. Big game last night, Pirates 0, Sundowns 1, scored early, cruised, easy victory.
Yeah, Sundowns are a good team, but we say it week in, week out. There's no one in this country that can touch them.
Yeah.
The Pirates are the form team, but Sundowns too good. They just have that little bit of class, the X factor, good players. Arthur Zwani in the middle of the park, terrific player.
Top player, Now they're too good for everybody. Royal AM 0, Sekakuna, Maritzburg, Harry Gwala used to be a graveyard for away teams. They're not doing too well, even though Royal AM were based in Chatsworth. But
Royal AM will continue to get the results. They're one of those mid-tier teams. They will keep fighting. I think they'll keep getting a couple of results.
Yeah, game I went both teams to score because I like Cape Town City, but TS Galaxy 0, Cape Town City 0, and last but not least, Supersport 1, Kaiser Chiefs 0.
Well, but it's been on the cards for a while that Chiefs haven't won anything for years. And Supersport Gavin's team, he'll have a full go. He'll get them wound up for the game, which he did. They got the results. Chiefs now taking it out on the coach, the supporters. It's ugly at Johannesburg at the moment with Chiefs. But they're not a good team, but they've got nothing up front. They create a few chances, but the chances to try and finish are pathetic.
Yeah.
Really pathetic. For a professional outfit, the strikers in the teams are woeful. Really woeful. It's very sad because we had some top strikers in this country. Yeah, phenomenal strikers.
Yeah, major club, and I just can't believe I used to love to watch them, but at the moment, I don't know what's worse, watching them or Man United. So let's hope Bobby can do something and get a few decent players in. Anyway, on to the second leg of the MTN 8. Semi-finals this week. We'll go through the first results, and the betting will come up now. 8-10 Sundowns. They are playing at Attridgeville.
At the moment, Sundowns look like they'll beat Chiefs. Chiefs gave them a run in the first leg.
They did.
Run till the extra time. But Sundowns, for me, will win this game. They'll probably win it about 2-0.
Okay, Orlando Pirates, Stellenbosch, they are winning 2-1 after the first leg.
Yeah, Pirates to win this game. I think they'll win comfortably up in Joburg. I think looking at 2-3-0.
Okay, now I've got to mention the MTN outright winners. I found this strange. Pirates 14-10, Sundowns 16-10, Chiefs 28-10, Stellenbosch 14-10. Sorry, 14-1. 16-10 outright, Gav?
Yeah, 16-10 for me, Sundowns to win, lift the trophy.
All right, I took that a couple of weeks ago. I can't believe it's still the same price. Anyway, on to our weekend soccer exotics. And we kick off with our Gold Circle Score 6. I went in the field in the Crystal Palace Fulham and Luton Town versus Wolverhampton Wanderers games. I've thrown the draw in Leeds United at home against Watford. I think Leicester City will be too good for Bristol City. I've also thrown the draw in Brentford at home against struggling Aston Villa, and I'm banking Man United to beat Burnley, 2-1-6. On to our second soccer 6, I'm banking Mamelodi Sundowns to beat Kaizer Chiefs. The same two fields in Crystal Palace Fulham and Luton Wolves. Man City should outclass Notts Forest. Brentford in the draw at home against Everton. And the second one, I've thrown the draw in with Man United at Burnley, also 2-1-6. On to our score 10 for the weekend. I'm going the field in the Crystal Palace Fulham game. I'm going Wolves win and draw at Luton Town. Man City to beat Notts Forest. Leeds to beat Watford. Leicester to beat Bristol City. On to the second page, the field in the Middlesbrough-Southampton fixture. I don't see Norwich City losing at Plymouth Argyle, as well as Preston North End win and draw at Rotherham. Brentford win and draw at home against Everton, and I'm going for Man United to beat Burnley, 288. On to the soccer 13, I'm going Man United to win at Burnley, chancing Brentford to win at home against Everton. Crystal Palace win and draw at home against Fulham. Wolves win and draw at Luton Town. Ipswich Town I don't see losing at home to Blackburn Rovers. And banking Leeds United to beat Watford. Leicester City to beat Bristol City. Onto the second page, I've gone the field in the Middlesbrough-Southampton match. Banking Norwich to beat Plymouth. Preston to beat Rotherham. Swansea to beat Sheffield Wednesday. West Brom win and draw at home against Millwall. And the field in the Bromma-Pochkana IFK Norrköping game, 288. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes in the Crystal Palace Fulham, Brentford Everton games, and Liverpool to beat West Ham, and both teams to score yes. 13-1, so 2,600 to 200 was our bet. Our team goals only, I'm going Crystal Palace, Wolves, and Aston Villa all to score over 1.5 goals, and Sheffield United just to score 3,300 to 200. Onto the championship, I'm going Leicester City to beat Bristol City and both teams to score yes. Swansea City to beat Sheffield United and over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes. And the Sunderland versus Cardiff City fixture, 3,200 to 200. Both teams to score sides are Ipswich Blackburn, Plymouth Norwich, West Brom Millwall, Stoke Hull City, and Sunderland Cardiff City, 3,300 to 200. And on to Spain, I'm going Osasuna to beat Sevilla at home. Both teams to score in the Real Sociedad Getafe game, and over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes in the Madrid derby between Atletico and Real, 2,600 to 200. Collis King 6 or Nixa. I'm going Man City to beat Forest, Liverpool to beat West Ham, Leicester to beat Bristol City, Swansea to beat Sheffield Wednesday, Inter Milan to beat Empoli, and Roma to beat Torino, 3,800 to 200. Gab, you've never been shy to have a bet. Who you on?
Budge, I'm going with Man United this week. I think it's 7-10 is a gift. I think you don't, on a normal day, it should be about 1-4. Okay. I'm going United, Leicester, and Ipswich.
Man United, Leicester, and Ipswich. So you get about 7-2 somewhere around there, 3-1, 7-2.
I think I could fire that for the weekend, and hopefully we get some money.
Oh, let's hope
Maybe we can back South Africa to beat Ireland.
And 9-10 minus 3.5. So let's hope. But guys, the last one standing, please. 12 o'clock on Saturday is closing time. Your help is needed. To everybody else, please remember to stay on side.